Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lawcast. This time, we're going back to cover the time AEW killed New Japan's American expansion. It's Wrestle Kingdom 13. Kyush, how did it feel to revisit your dreams of New Japan America being dashed?
First of all, let me just say, happy Wrestle Kingdom Coverage Day to everybody. The most wonderful day of the year. I watched so many 90s WCW shows to get to this one beautiful day.
Oh, but man, we've got a whopper next week to make up for this one.
And it's totally fair. I'll do it with a grin on my face. But to answer your question, holy shit, what a tumultuous time this was then. And it's so bizarre to look back on now, because at the time, it genuinely felt like New Japan was going to take over the United States. The Bullet Club shirts were literally everywhere. Like, New Japan was almost in the mainstream cultural zeitgeist in a way that no wrestling, even in WWE, had been in years. It felt like things were about to explode, and just when they're hitting their tipping point and New Japan's about to, play their cards and actually go with it, it evaporates, and all these guys are just gone. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, I don't remember talking to you about it, but I can only imagine how excited you must have been by the idea that New Japan was going to form a promotion in America.
And it's not that had been officially named. Now, I don't want to give the impression that they were literally about to launch and be like, all right, we're launching New Japan Strong or whatever, because that doesn't come until later, or that we were gonna, literally they were about to do it. But everyone kind of knew they're at least gonna start running a ton of these shows. They had already picked up the amount of shows that they were running. They did all the co-branding stuff with Ring of Honor, which were basically just New Japan shows because nobody gave a fuck about Ring of Honor. And the writing on the wall was absolutely clear that they had eyes on becoming the number 2 promotion in America, and it was wide open. TNA was dead. Ring of Honor was dead. There was nothing else.
Yeah, and as we've pointed out, and we'll point out again, I mean, what AEW launched with is New Japan guys. Cody, Kenny, Jericho, Bucks, Hangman Page, basically those guys, plus MJF.
Yeah, the promise they had was, we're going to take Britt Baker and MJF, add them to the New Japan guys you love and I think are so cool, and we're just going to put that out there with a relationship with New Japan. Because that was what, assured everybody that, oh, well, they're on the level, I guess, blah, 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 blah. But, that's really what they had. They took an entire stable out of New Japan, signed them all, and put them out there.
All right. We'll have Wrestle Kingdom 13 to cover. But first, we have lots of things to debrief, because holy hell did we have a big weekend of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Starting with Wrestle Kingdom, Sabre retained over Umino in the main event. Takeshita beat Shingo in what was generally considered the match of the night. Tanahashi preserved his career with a victory over Evil. I don't know. How'd you feel about this one?
So this was a great show, but it pales in comparison to the show that we're about to talk about and to many of the other ones recently. But that's okay, because we kind of knew it was. We're in a rebuilding year. Everybody knew that. The most important thing to focus on here, because I won't dwell on the whole card because of how much we have to talk about, the main event, which was the second longest Tokyo Dome match ever in the history of New Japan, was not a success. Let's just be clear about this. They tried a number of things in that match to kind of identify what Shota Umino could be. The whole match was just about, can we make Shota Umino a star in one night?
The answer, no.
The answer was unfortunately no. It's not that it was a bad match. They just didn't find whatever it was that's in him that was going to work.
I think the look on Tanahashi's face at the end kind of told the whole story.
Yeah. And, I don't know what happens after this. On the same weekend, as we're certainly going to get to, Shota Umino was pushed forward as the babyface of the future, and he didn't succeed. Failure is a harsh term. I just don't think he got there. And there were boos scattered throughout the match. People just weren't interested in it. And also, I don't know that Zack Sabre Jr. proved that he was the guy in that spot. So,
No, and this was the small 24,000 in attendance. That's their weakest non-COVID attendance in a very long time, at least 10 years, right?
Since 2011 and 2007, where they did
dark ages of New Japan.
That's back when like TNA guys were on the fucking roster. Like this is not great time.
Let the record show you tried to make me cover that show once, and I couldn't do that.
I still put it up there all the time. Like, hey man, you want to see Kevin Nash in the Dome?
With no English commentary, I couldn't even follow what the hell was happening.
I would literally have to like pre-record some commentary for Steve to get into this show.
That's the funniest idea I've ever heard. Now that you mention it,
we could do commentary, just live commentary for those shows where you're like,
what the fuck is happening right now? Who the hell is Bully Ray in the Dome?
Well, Jeff Hardy's high and he's wrestling Naito, and Naito doesn't know that he's high, and it's bad time.
All right. Story number 2, Wrestle Dynasty. I mean, for me, the big story coming out of this was an unbelievable match between Kenny Omega and Gabe Kidd. Just a remarkable comeback match for Kenny. Just tore the house down.
And let's talk about what was really important about that match, and that's that Kenny Omega has been the babyface of babyfaces every time he's come back in front of the New Japan crowd. Yeah. But he very deliberately constructed this feud in particular in a way to turn himself heel and put Gabe Kidd over massively. Gabe Kidd has been a heel his entire time in New Japan. He's a gigantic prick. Like, he is the biggest fucking asshole of all time. But he's so unpredictable and electric in the ring and in what he says and in his promos that he's gotten over with the crowd as like the one like real person who like tells it like it is, almost in like a Steve Austin kind of way. So when he came out and he pulled off his workout pants and he had the New Japan tights underneath and he did like Inoki's hold and Enziguri, he became like the biggest babyface in the company.
What else stood out to you from this show?
Not a lot. I guess what we really need to talk about is what's going on. You can read.
Who else like really spoke the truth on this show?
Chris Charlton dropped some truth bombs on Tony Khan during this show, and during that match in particular, where he went so far as to say some things like, I don't know, AEW's got to steal stars because they can't make their own, and Tony
Khan is a money mark. Do you think this was real, or do you think this was a work?
I think this was a work. Here's the thing. Chris Charlton regularly takes breaks from commentary because he has other duties within the company as like their main translator and stuff like that. So it's not unusual for him to go away for a month at a time. So this suspension is probably honestly just that. And secondly, he wasn't like that on any of the rest of the show or in any of the other matches. He really only pushes it here, which is part of Kenny's story. The promo that Kenny cuts backstage after the matches is literally just like, fuck you guys for booing me. Fuck not literally, like obviously he was a lot more careful than that, but like we are building clearly to some kind of New Japan AEW rivalry that actually has meat to it.
That's what they need if these shows are going to draw. Which point, I don't know. The claimed attendance for this was 16,000, but
it could have been 5, man. This was not.
It didn't look like there was any. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I wasn't just not visible from the angle I was seeing, but like it didn't seem like there was anybody other than on the floor.
Agreed. And like when we turn on Wrestle Kingdom 13 for this, like, oh my God, like that's what the dome with people in it.
Massive crowd. The idea of actually building heat and a rivalry between AEW and New Japan is a good idea. That's something they've built some individual rivalries for the AEW New Japan shows, but they've never built a company-wide rivalry for it.
And my big criticism of this Dynasty show is that there was literally no attempt to make any sort of rivalry between these two companies coming into this show. Yeah. And for most of the matches, it didn't continue. I mean, like, Umino had his thing with Castagnoli that branches off the Moxley thing, but that wasn't really company versus company. Really, none of this was.
Why do this the day after Wrestle Kingdom?
I don't know why New Japan is holding on to this two-night concept.
No.
It's clear that they don't have the horses for this now. They need to drop it.
Yeah. It's not worth renting the Dome for 2 nights. There was I'm skeptical that this show actually drew 16,000, but like they easily could, like they should have just done the second night in a regular arena if they were going to do it at all. But I think the show would have drawn better if they had done it at a different time.
I think they thought, well, we're going to have Kenny, so that might be enough.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't. This is such a rebuilding year that I hesitate to make any sort of grandiose things about like how bad the business was, because it was going to be. We all knew it was going to be. But I also wonder if they had the idea that they were going to get better people from AEW from this, because they really, aside from Kenny, didn't get the guys. You know what I mean?
No.
They didn't get your Ospreys, your Okadas, your Jay Whites, the guys who would have really pushed the needle.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to the extent that this drew anything at all, like, I think you got to credit it to Kenny.
Oh, God, yeah. There was nothing else on the, like, Ricochet didn't draw a fucking person. I can tell you that right now.
And story number 3, Raw's debut on Netflix.
This show sucked.
Oh, you liked it a lot. I didn't love it. I thought it was weird, but I enjoyed. I mean, I liked both the big matches.
Yeah.
I didn't really like either Rock's promo. Rock's promo was really weird. And
it was so weird.
Cena's promo just didn't really do anything for me.
Like, they had such an opportunity to hit this out of the park. Like, they could do essentially nothing. I was expecting some kind of storyline progression.
Maybe he just does. Maybe they don't have anything for him for WrestleMania, so they don't want to set anything up. But even if he's not going to wrestle at WrestleMania, you would think he would be like the referee of one of the big matches, or the enforcer, or at least just like you got it. If they're going to do Reigns versus Punk and Rock's going to be at WrestleMania, you would think he would be in the middle of that.
And like with Cena's storyline, why don't we
Cody having him come out and pump up Cena would have been cool.
Like, why don't we do something? Like, if we're going to make this like Cena's retirement tour, which should be the major focus of the next year as much as it can be, like, let's make a big deal out of this guy.
Yeah.
Let's get some contenders in line. Let's announce the first match. Let's lay some stuff out.
He's going to do it's the John Cena final countdown.
But like, the good thing about the Inoki Final Countdown is that you knew who he was going to fight along the way. It wasn't like, well, I'll just be around, you know, I'll see you later.
Remember how much they've half-assed a lot of retirements over the year. The Kurt Angle one was awful.
Yeah.
And they did actually put him up against some good people, but then they didn't really give the matches time and they didn't promote them. But like, they didn't put him against Samoa Joe. They didn't put him against AJ Styles. They didn't put him against a bunch of the people who he actually had history with. And they made him wrestle Baron Corbin in his retirement.
With the exception of Flair, who even there you could say that they didn't really honor him properly.
I didn't think that was done very well either.
I don't know that they've ever done a retirement angle that really worked and like took time to honor the guy on the way out. You know what I mean? Like, Michaels and Taker had their awesome storyline, but that was more of a storyline, and
it wasn't like a big retirement tour because it wasn't clear Shawn was retiring.
I don't know if they're just. This is just this anathema in WWE.
It definitely feels like not a Vince thing, that he hates the idea of promoting retirements, because you can't just hear Vince saying like, oh, it makes the guys sound old, nobody wants to hear about retirement.
Also, like, if we actually say they're retired, I can't try to give them money to come back later, because he did that with every single one of those guys. So I guess there's that. But like, if you're doing this, every single town you go to where you have Cena needs to be a Cena's last time in Des Moines, Cena's last time in Boise, Idaho, Cena's last time in Miami.
No, definitely money in that. Punk Rollins, nice match. The thing I guess that surprised me about this show was how much this was like just a wrap. It was wrapping up their current storylines versus setting up, WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, right?
We talked about how AEW kind of relaunched their product a little bit towards new viewers when they went on Max, and I thought that's what they would do here. It was very odd that instead what they did was wrap up their old storylines while, like, the opening thing, which I wanted to like more. You're trying to explain the concept of wrestling, the history of wrestling to people?
That was very cringe to me.
Like, why? Nobody's tuning in not knowing what wrestling is.
I was hoping so much that Rock was just going to interrupt that and tell Triple H to like shut his jabroni mouth, because this business was built on the blood of my ancestors, and now like we're finally getting what we deserve.
I mean, that would kick ass.
Yeah, that would.
Of course, it's not going to happen.
No.
Um,
I just like having Rock do something interesting would have been a bridge too far on this show. Apparently, we need him to come out and shout out the Netflix corporate suits.
But it felt like, and I don't want to be mean about this, but it just felt like another episode of Raw, like one with a lot of big stuff on it. But it didn't feel special in the way they intended it to, nor did it feel like a relaunch to new viewers. Like, if you were a new viewer watching the show, you wouldn't know who the fuck anybody is or what they're doing.
The most unusual thing was Hulk Hogan coming out and getting his ass booed out of the building.
I hope that's the last time we ever see that fucker ever.
They can't keep using him on these shows. Like, they just can't do it.
What possessed them to put him on? They had to know, right?
When is the last time he made an appearance? It's been a while.
Years.
He got a lot of boos at that WrestleMania in Tampa. That was the first time. I mean, I think when he first came back, I think it might have been in Saudi Arabia, which, different crowd. But he got a lot of boos at that WrestleMania, and I'm not surprised he got booed here.
And, like, Triple H is usually pretty savvy to the audience. I don't know what would have possessed him to do this.
Got this deal with his beer now.
By the way, did you know... Like, let me just do a little burying of Hulk Hogan on here. So for this beer, he had one of the models that they put in the advertisements was black, but he didn't know it. And when he found out, he fired her.
Yikes. And we're supposed to wonder why the crowd booed him.
Like, this is a fucking horrible racist monster of a man. Get him the fuck out of here.
It's really saying something to say, like, this is not something someone WWE should be associating themselves with.
I just think it's so funny.
Like, it's just tired at this point. Like, you have to be old as fuck like you and me to even remember Hollywood Hogan. That was 25 years ago.
And let's be clear, like, obviously their audience still skews super old, but for a lot of their newer fan base, when's the last time that like, even like the Orton match with Hogan was before they were born?
That was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's move on. Wind the clock back to January 2019. So coming out of the previous year at the Dome, we had the epic match between Jericho and Omega. And in the main event, Okada retained the title over Naito.
Which, that result resonates through this year, because everybody thought this was going to be Naito's year. And it really turns out to be Omega's instead.
Yeah, they chose Omega. Like, they had a choice between who the next guy for the company was, and they go with Omega. Omega beats Okada in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Dominion to end Okada's near 2-year reign as champion.
Yeah, both the longest title reign in the history of New Japan and the most defenses, 12, ever in the history of the belt.
It's incredible. And I love that they track the number of defenses.
Yeah, like, them putting, like, V12 in front of it was, like, way bigger than the number of days. Like, the defenses are always what's mattered in New Japan.
Yeah. Tanahashi won the G1. He beat Ibushi in the finals.
Which was stunning.
Yeah. And then he proceeded to beat Okada and Jay White to retain the contract in his subsequent matches.
Let's talk about that for a second, because Tanahashi at this point, his knees are starting to go a little bit. He's not nearly as, like, horribly...
Not like today, but...
Where he literally can't get around. But, like, he had pretty much been chalked up as old man Tanahashi and, like, put out to pasture to be in tag matches and stuff by this point. When he wins this, it was genuinely the most stunning G1 climax win I'd ever seen. Like, Ibushi was right there, and you can tell they want to make Ibushi a big thing, too. And the story of this year, we have to say, so Omega turns babyface after Wrestle Kingdom, and he really, like, him and, like, the Elite refused to, like, let him turn babyface, and then Kota Ibushi comes out, and they do the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks, and that's a whole thing. And that's really the splitting off into the Kenny Omega-verse. like the Elite verse, where that whole storyline is completely separate from everything else on the card that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so we got Omega versus Tanahashi here at the Dome. In the sub-main event, we got Chris Jericho against Naito. Jericho attacked Naito like right after Wrestle Kingdom the previous year at I think it was at New Year's Dash.
Yeah.
And they beat him to win the Intercontinental title at Dominion. How shocking was that?
Extremely, because I thought Jericho was going to be one and done with this company. I just kind of figured he was here to do the Omega thing. And then when he like beat up Naito, I was like, all right, well, that's weird, but we probably won't get anything out of it. So when he's here like 5 times this year, he just keeps showing up and doing stuff. Even as a match with Evil where he like defends the Intercontinental belt. Like I didn't know what to make of it.
Tonight, Naito's going to get a rematch and a no disqualification match, which of course is right up Jericho's alley because he's the Painmaker.
It was funny because Jericho just kept saying, no, you can't have a match. And then the New Japan like booking committee stepped in and was like, actually, he can.
Right after Wrestle Kingdom, Jay White was invited to join the Bullet Club, but he turned it down. And then he was invited to join Okada's Chaos stable.
Yes.
And proceeded to cause a whole lot of trouble.
This is the best storyline of the entire year. Because Jay White is an evil bastard, but he joins the most babyface group, and he is like a genuine member of it. Like but he keeps pushing like the members to fight each other. He's just like, Ishii, you should fight Okada. Goto, you should fight Okada. Like, let me fight Okada. Like, let's not be wimps. Let's get after each other and really show who's best. And everyone else is like, hey man, we're just chilling and making merch money here. Like, can you chill the fuck out, kid?
So he faced Okada, I think, the opening night of the G1, and he cheated to beat him.
Low blow.
And then after Okada lost to Tanahashi, White attacked both of them, and Gato joined him, turning on Okada.
This was the really shocking betrayal. Yeah. Gato had been with Okada since his debut, and like had never shown any sign of any heelish tendencies whatsoever.
Time also, for the new big thing.
Also, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Gato's the booker of this promotion. It had always been like the thing with Okada is like, oh, well, he's the big hot star, and the booker's literally his manager. Well, now the booker's Jay White's manager. And then in a subsequent match, Jay down to like help, and then he turns heel on Okada too and also joins the Bullet Club.
Yeah, so White joins Bullet Club, and we're going to get Jay White versus Okada tonight.
That's a hot, hot storyline. Jay White has wildly fast come up this card.
Yeah. Still needs to grow the goatee. He still looks weird without facial hair.
Oh, he looks like an absolute child. But, like, somehow this is still working. Like, he does not shrink from this moment at all. He's only been out back from excursion for, like, a year.
Yeah,
and he feels like he belongs.
He came back like a couple months before Wrestle Kingdom the previous year.
Yeah, and he feels like he belongs in one of the most stacked main events in wrestling history.
And of course, the big complication is All Elite Wrestling. By this point, they've had All In. That was Labor Day weekend. And they announced the formation of AEW like in a YouTube video on January 1st, like right at the stroke of midnight. 3 days before this show.
Now, I do believe that New Japan knew before that, though we don't know officially when exactly it is that they knew that these guys were leaving. I think they gave them like 2 weeks notice. They didn't pull like a Nakamura and AJ Styles and tell them on the morning of the show. But this still blindsided the fuck out of New Japan because this is their top tag team and their champ, and they're like, it's literally all the guys they had planned to build the American part around. I don't know that they thought that they really had Cody. If I had to guess, I would say that they always expected him to go elsewhere. But Kenny was their guy. Like, Kenny leaving was that's really where the bitter part of this comes in.
Yeah, so they lose Omega, Jericho, Cody, and the Bucks, and Hangman, who Hangman's not doing very much, but they may have had plans for him.
Moreover, that's the whole Elite stable. That's all of it. Like, they've been pushing the fuck out of it all year.
the elite was what got a lot of Americans into New Japan in the first place.
And, like, we need to go back and, like, describe what it was like. Because, like, even for non-New Japan fans, which I have to try to put myself in the shoes of sometimes, like, and you can attest to this, Bullet Club was a genuine viral sensation.
Yeah.
Like, even
That
for
was what I knew
non-wrestling
about.
fans. Yeah. Like, Bullet Club just became a thing in the wrestling community. You'd see those shirts in the hundreds show up in WWE crowds and at, like, StarCast things, and, like, it was crazy. At All In, it was nothing but wall-to-wall Bullet Club shirts.
I mean, it's just fun to speculate. Like, what do you think it would have looked like if New Japan had expanded into America?
I want to be clear about this. New Japan doesn't have the kind of money it takes to really do this.
That's a good point.
It would have been something similar to New Japan Strong, but if AEW didn't exist, I think the crowds would have been a lot bigger, but they would have just been basically running indie shows, I feel like.
Yeah. They wouldn't have had Tony Khan was able to get them on Tony Khan was able to get them into pitch meetings with the TV channels because he's the son of an NFL owner. Like, that's not why they put AEW on TV. Like, TNT put AEW on TV because they believed in it and they were rewarded for it. But, like, yeah, New Japan was not going to have the connections to get a TV deal.
Yeah, New Japan would have gotten on some kind of TV. They were already on Access, so maybe that just would have become a live show. I don't know. They would have probably had their own roster. I would assume that Rocky Romero probably would have been the booker because he's the one who takes over the booking of New Japan Strong anyway. Like, it would have looked a lot like New Japan Strong, except it would have had a bunch of megastars on it.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the show, for New Japan Live.
Yeah.
In WWE, Baron Corbin was fired as the commissioner by Vince, Shane, and Triple H, who promised to improve the shows.
They quite literally said, we get that you hate Baron Corbin, so he's gone. We promise we'll make a better show.
They did not.
It's so insane that they did this.
This is like, I think, I don't know what this was. I mean, it felt at the time like this was massive and we were about to get a reboot of the company. And instead we just got a bunch of half-assed, like, NXT call-ups.
Like, literally, like, the next day they call up, like, Aleister Black and Ricochet and make them a team, but they don't do anything, and then they're gone.
When this happened, you and I were definitely texting about it, being like, holy shit, this could be huge. Like, we were thinking the Elite might be coming in.
So there was a rumor that was floating around late December that the Elite were leaving New Japan.
Yeah,
but like
WWE did offer them all contracts here.
That's the true alternate universe. What if they decide that Tony isn't trustworthy or whatever the case may be?
Guaranteed money from WWE.
I think there's a chance. I don't think Kenny would have left, but I do think that Cody definitely would have.
Yeah. We had several major deaths. The Dynamite Kid, St. Louis's Larry Matzik, Larry the Axe Hennig, and NFL legend and WrestleMania 2 NFL Battle Royal participant Bill Fralick.
Not necessarily all like the biggest name guys of all time, but a shame to lose so many people in such a short time.
Yeah, that was crazy. There was a big obituary like every week in the Observer leading up to this.
Yep.
How Dave churns out those obituaries on Deadline is amazing.
Even for people who are fairly obscure, he can just cranks out 10 pages on them. Everything they've ever done.
WWE presented its second bogus Starrcade show.
Did these zombie Starrcades just make you sad?
It made me. The only thing I liked was on the first one they had Dustin Rhodes wrestle as the Natural, and that was awesome.
These were just house shows too, right? Just televised house shows.
They did put them on the network, but yeah, these were. I hated that they called those Starrcade.
Yeah.
The return of the XFL was officially announced.
I will always stand by saying that if COVID hadn't happened, this XFL would have succeeded. Like, it was working.
It's doing. I mean, the version with the Rock runs has been doing pretty decently.
But it already, you can already tell that it's set up to be a developmental feeder league for NFL more than more than this XFL was, which was really trying to be its own thing. So,
New Japan announced special Okada cruise events. How much would you like to go on the Okada cruise?
I would actually kind of not like it because I don't like meeting celebrities, especially people that I really respect, because I am super anxious about it. The one time I met Tanahashi, I must have been sweating like a gallon a minute. So to be on a cruise where you're forced to see these guys constantly, like you got to be a special kind of wrestling weirdo to think that that's a fun time.
Didn't you walk past Cody walking Pharaoh one time?
Oh, I was staying at the same hotel as a bunch of the guys at All In. So, like, literally, I was just outside smoking a cigarette, and, like, Cody was walking Pharaoh right by me smoking a cigar. And did I say anything? Listener? No, I did not.
No?
I took a creep shot of Hangman Page, and he caught me doing it, and I ran away.
And finally, the Hammer. Meltzer reported on his experience of going to Hot Topic to check for New Japan merchandise.
Holy shit.
Said he was at the mall to see a movie and swung by Hot Topic to check on it. I'm impressed that man ever goes to the movies. I'm surprised he has time. That must have been like his once-a-year date night with his wife.
Do you think like a special narc alarm goes off when somebody like Dave Meltzer walks into Hot Topic?
Yes.
But it must be said, they got these shirts into Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Like, even WWE wasn't in Hot Topic at the time.
God, I wonder, what movie was Meltzer going to see in December 2018?
Oh, you got to pull up the box office right now. We got to know. We got to know what that. We got to make a special report on that right now.
Okay. Could it be a wrestling? Was there a wrestling movie out? Let's see.
See, I can't imagine what it would have been.
So, tops at the box office: Aquaman, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mary Poppins Returns, Ralph Breaks the Internet, The Grinch, Bumblebee, The Mule, Creed 2, Bohemian Rhapsody, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Okay, so this was a fantastic weekend, it sounds like, for family movies, and the guy does have kids. So, like, that's probably what it was.
Much to my surprise.
Yeah. He somehow found time to find a woman and make children and raise them.
All right, to get into the show. Oh, God, I forgot to look up the day of the week. January 4th, 2019. Let me pull up the 2019 calendar, because this is oddly very important to me, what day of the week it was.
It's hugely important
Friday.
to me. Yeah. Because understand, the way that these work for those of us who stay up and watch them live is that, like, you can't work the next day.
Don't they start at, like, 3 a.m. Eastern and go until, like, 7?
Yes. And for some of these shows that run longer, like the one the next year after this went until 8.
The sun had risen by the time it ended.
And I had to work at noon that day. It was a bad day.
That's tough.
But, like, so I usually take, like, the day before and the day after off.
We're at the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan. In attendance, 38,162. Legitimate sellout with the gigantic set that blocks tons of seats. Biggest Tokyo Dome attendance since the 90s, right?
That's correct. And I believe it's surpassed by the one the following year, which I think is the biggest that they...
I think they did. Somehow they managed to squeeze in a few more seats.
But, like, just the difference between, like, when you watch the one this year, there are so much space between, like, the set and, like, where the people are, and there's so many different, like, walkways in between. Here, nuh-uh. It's people as far as the eye can see.
Yeah. On commentary, Kevin Kelly, Don Callis, and Chris Charlton.
It's so funny because Chris Charlton has actually been receiving like a ton of like shitty like AEW fans and stuff like that who just found out that he existed this week. Yeah. He is such an incredible announcer and it's like been so amazing because he actually translates the promos for us.
That's helpful.
It's been the single biggest entry into like making this accessible that we've ever had. So that's initially why they put him on the commentary team, is just to translate the promos. But later on,
it's hilarious to remember when the English announcers didn't know what the hell the guys were saying.
Because they're also not smartened up by The Office. Because they're not really connected to The Office. So Kevin Kelly would just...
They don't even, talk to them. They're just sitting in their living room, right?
Yeah, Kevin Kelly would just be sitting in his living room watching Tanahashi cut a promo and being like, well, he's feeling very passionate there, guys.
Yeah, I always, just in my head, I imagine that they were actually there in the Dome. Maybe they're there for the Dome show, but...
they're there for all the big shows.
Okay. For the big shows, they're actually there, but for the little stuff, they're not. They're just calling it from home, right?
No, yeah. When they're calling, the third match on the tour for, the New Beginnings tour, no, they're firmly ensconced in their home. But Chris Charlton lives in Japan, and he actually already worked for the company. He was just, a translator for the company.
Japanese, yeah.
He actually wrote an unbelievable book called Big Egg Universe, which is,
a
definitive document. Yeah, that is one of the coolest books of all time. You should absolutely read it. And so they bring him in here. I believe this is the first time he's on a big important show. He basically doesn't talk the whole time, except when they point to him and say, translate, monkey boy.
Yeah, I was going to say, he barely gets a word in with Don Callis on commentary.
Yeah, but he's an unbelievable color man now. The soliloquies that he says before the guys come out for their matches has been generally my favorite part of New Japan. So just wanted to put him over since he's getting slagged off recently by a lot of people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Meanwhile, we have Kevin Kelly, whose career has not yet been ruined.
That's still a few years away from him imploding in epic fashion.
And
Don Callis, who's still going strong.
It's funny how good Callis is at this.
Actually great.
Yeah, he was actually phenomenal all night long here.
On the pre-show.
Oh, God.
The most violent players and Taguchi defeated Yuji Nagata, Jeff Cobb, and David Finlay, Chaos, Suzuki Gun, and the Elite in a gauntlet match to determine the number one contenders for the never openweight 6-man tag team championship in 27 minutes and 47 seconds. Thank the Lord we were spared from having to watch this garbage.
I watched it at the time, and it's exactly as clusterfucky and boring as it sounds. There has never...
I hate these matches.
Maybe never in the history of wrestling has there been a more, fuck it, just chuck everybody in one match, who cares?
There's a bunch of real legit people in here. Togi Makabe, Toru Yano, David Finlay, Jeff Cobb, Yuji Nagata, Suzuki, Lance Archer, Beretta, Goto.
Yeah, there's a lot of good dudes in here.
Takahashi, Marty Scurll, who
there's
hasn't
a lot
been
of dudes
canceled yet, I guess.
Yes, he hadn't been canceled quite yet. There's a lot of dudes
Every time we do one of these now, I'm like, has Marty Scurll been canceled yet? The answer keeps being no.
It's right after this.
Yeah, because he's not on, he doesn't go to AEW. He's not allowed.
Yeah. Now, how many of the people in this match did they fly in from America on this show and then put them in this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why spend, thousands and thousands of dollars on travel accommodations and payoffs for these people?
Great question. And obviously, this one's weird because we had already been doing the New Japan Rambo, and then we only ever do the New Japan Rambo. So this one year, they just don't.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Opening match for the Never Openweight Championship. Kota Ibushi defends against Will Ospreay.
Yeah, how much added tension were you when you saw this on the card?
God. Not quite as good an opening match as we had at that last AEW pay-per-view, but pretty damn good.
Yeah, Ospreay is obviously not at his full strength here. He's a fairly Rizless version of himself.
See stardom coming.
Yeah, at this point, he's like a little bit like a knockoff AJ Styles, but he's starting to get it. Meanwhile, Ibushi is Ibushi. You could not pull... If I showed you this match in a vacuum and asked you, is this from 2010 or 2020, you couldn't fucking tell me.
Ageless wonder.
Yep.
The first big move... Also, it's hilarious that this is for the Never title, since that's the grizzled hard-ass title.
But it was also the title that they used to try to level up junior heavyweight. So when they had a guy who was like flirting with being a heavyweight, they put him in there because it's an open weight title.
I guess that makes sense.
They let him like mix it up, but he was supposed to beat Taichi for this, but he got hurt. So instead they put the belts on Ibushi, and now they're having that match here. But Ospreay was supposed to win it in the fall.
First big move is Ibushi going for a moonsault to the floor, and Ospreay kicks him in the back. And then Ospreay does a flying tiger drop out to the floor.
Did you see how close his ankle came to going off the side of this?
That was almost really bad.
Like, literally, he landed, and like, the ramp isn't high up, but it's maybe like 2 feet up off the ground. And literally, like, his foot almost goes into the hole, and it would have been fucking terrible.
Ibushi knocks Ospreay to the floor and hits a corkscrew moonsault, and then a springboard missile drop kick back into the ring.
Now, we haven't yet done Kota Ibushi's huge launch to main event stardom. Like, we're flirting with it. Like, he was in the finals of the G1 and stuff like that. But he's developed in that Nakamura match this, like, zombie thing that he does where, like, you hit him and then he decides that he doesn't like it and then he just starts to, like, legit kickbox you. I just want to put that in your mind because that's going to happen later.
Ibushi rolls Ospreay up and deadlifts him off the mat for a German suplex.
Fuck.
That was quite a display of strength.
It's stunning how strong that guy actually was at his peak.
Ospreay hits Ibushi with a super kick in the corner, which I think concussed him.
Yep. Like, you can tell that Ibushi's a little off for the rest of the match.
Yeah. But that doesn't stop them from pulling off an insane series of counters that ends with Ospreay hitting a Spanish fly.
And that's when they get the crowd. Because, like the first opening match at the Dome always has a little bit of trouble getting the crowd because they're just kind of like they need warmed up first. From that point on, like, this crowd's hot all night long.
Ibushi counters a Stormbreaker with a Hurricane Rana. That was awesome.
What the fuck?
Ospreay recovers with a German suplex. Ibushi hits a Kinshasa, which I guess is a reference to his match against Nakamura.
Yeah, he like started doing that afterwards as like an homage to him.
Last ride powerbomb from Ibushi. They fight on the top rope, and Ibushi double stomps Ospreay onto the turnbuckle.
Shit.
Then he deadlift German suplexes him back into the ring, but Ospreay flips over and lands on his feet.
Now, this is a reference. I don't know if you guys remember that, like, viral thing when he did, like, the super hurricane run off the top, and then Ospreay lands on his feet, and then he, like, kind of looks back at him like, what? Yeah, they do that again here.
Ibushi blocks the Oz Cutter and hits a straight jacket German suplex, but he only manages to get 2.
That was so cool, because, like, Ospreay's, like, screaming and, like, trying to grab for the rope. He's like, no!
Ospreay comes back with the Hidden Blade and the Stormbreaker for the win. What an incredible way to start the show.
Like, Ospreay's made. Yep. This is an unbelievable... Like, Ibushi is part of basically all of the best Dome openers ever in history. Like, he's the king of it. This is the
best Tokyo Dome opener ever. Because, I mean, like, most of these I've seen the opening match is like some, like, 4-way junior heavyweight tag match that doesn't really mean anything.
For my money, and it's probably not quite as good a match, but it'll just always have my heart, Ibushi versus Prince Devitt versus Low Ki is the best opening match maybe ever.
Yeah. Next up, for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Titles, we've got Suzuki Gun versus Los Ingobernables versus Roppongi 3K.
So, they bring in Shingo Takagi, who had been like a huge star for Dragon Gate, and they make him part of Los Ingobernables. And he's a huge star right off the bat. He is wildly out of this, like, the junior heavyweight weight limit, and I don't understand how they let him be part of these things.
I feel like on some level it's deeply funny when you have a guy who's just way too big for the division and you just don't comment on it.
Like, he's a little bit smaller here than he is now, but he's still like a foot taller and 50 pounds heavier than everybody else.
They really they only get 6 minutes here, so this is really rushed, which will be kind of a running theme of these mid-card matches.
Yeah, the most important thing here is Sho and Yo and Roppongi 3K, who are brought in to be like the hottest new tag team that's going to be so awesome, and they fucking flop. This is a terrible disaster of an act. They put the belts on them right away. Nobody fucking cares. they're going to split them up like a year from now. Like, it's bad.
Didn't they have them like win the junior tag league while they were the tag champions?
Yes.
Yeah, the only team to ever do that, I think.
And it's kind of, I think somebody did,
Maybe the Bucks
did it last year, but I don't think had been done before that now.
Yeah. They did hit a really nice, like, synchronized dive to the floor here. That was cool.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong, really. They just try to, it's sort of the Shota Umino problem, right? Like, they're just, like, cheesy baby faces getting shoved down throats, and that doesn't work even in Japan anymore.
Shingo pins Sho with the Last of the Dragon to win the match and the titles.
Fuck, Shingo Takagi is cool.
Yeah. Next up, for the British Heavyweight Championship, Tomohiro Ishii defends against Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, this is the stuff right here. Black-haired Zack Sabre Jr.
This is a fun clash of styles with, grizzled hard-ass Ishii and, the classic Matt Grappler Sabre.
This year's the first time that they actually really kind of focus on Zack Sabre Jr. as a singles wrestler. He won the New Japan Cup at the beginning of the year. He got the shot at Okada, but he lost. And here he gets like a big, big win. So like, they see something in him. Now understand that he doesn't progress past this level basically until this year, 2024.
Ospreay works a lot of his submission holds. Ishii then shows he can do a submission as he puts Ospreay in the ankle lock.
Look at that.
Yeah, the easiest submission hold to apply.
I do think it's so funny, though, of him being like, I can do stuff other than club you in the face.
Sabre stomps the arm after getting hit with a superplex. That was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Huge power bomb by Ishii, only gets 2. And a big headbutt and a lariat, but Sabre kicks out.
I love the recurring trope in this match that, like, Ishii doesn't know what to do with Sabre. He keeps trying to do his normal stuff, and then Sabre will, like, octopus around him and turn it into submissions, and he's just getting frustrated.
Ishii hits the sliding lariat. Sabre gets him in a guillotine, and then transitions into the octopus hold. He gets both the arms, and Ishii gives up, which the crowd is stunned by.
It is certainly the first time Ishii has ever tapped out. It is... Submissions are not a super common thing in Japanese wrestling. Like, they do happen. Like, it's not like they're rare. But, like, it's a lot less common than I think it is in America these days. And certainly during, like, the Angle and Benoit era where people are tapping out all the time. And especially somebody like him, this is a gigantic victory for Sabre. Not only does he beat him and win this belt, but he could not have more definitively beaten Ishii at, like, his chosen way.
Next up, for the tag titles, the Guerrillas of Destiny defend against Los Ingobernables and the Young Bucks. Why another 3-way?
So Los Ingobernables had won the World Tag League to get the shot at the Guerrillas of Destiny. At the last second, like, they say, like, hey, the Young Bucks should be in this match too. What it really is the Bucks weren't going to be on this card, but then, like, I think New Japan was like, well, we need a chance to job them out. Like, we can't just, like, let you guys walk without getting a win off of you.
It's a good match, but again, they really rushed through it.
I don't know why they're rushing so much. Like, what?
They had more time. It seemed like they deliberately tried to shorten the show this year.
I don't really know why that. Like, obviously, the year after this, they go to 2 nights.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe they were told that they have to shorten it. There's probably the thing is, I don't really know what match here you cut off the card because really, there's no weak points on this card.
It's pretty. I mean, like, unless you're going to cut one of these tag title matches, and that's tough to do.
Yeah, people won tournaments to get those matches, so it's kind of hard to cut them off of here.
Sonata hits 4 straight pescados, and then his double leapfrog dropkick thing with Tama Tonga.
How would you describe Sonata's look here?
I think words escape me.
He's got like a high top fade that's like 3 feet tall, like plastered on top of his head, and he has like a gigantic bushy blonde beard.
Evil hits his finisher on Tonga, and then they hit the Magic Killer on Matt, and they get the pin. Like you said, they just had to bring the Bucks back to job him out.
I mean, the Bucks do a lot of cool stuff in this match, and they're over, but, like, yeah, I think that's really the only reason why they're here. And the jobbing out parade's going to continue on into the next match.
Speaking of which, we've got Cody defending the U.S. title against Juice Robinson. Wonder which way this is going to go.
It is extremely funny to think that Cody Rhodes, the world beater, the top man in all of wrestling, did this clean job to Mad Dog Juice Robinson.
Cody, they wrestled at Wrestle Kingdom. Was it last year? That was
Cody's first match, with the company.
Cody won, and then Cody beat Juice for the U.S. title, so he's 2-0 against him.
Yeah, originally the U.S. title was really built around Juice, like he was going to be like their American guy, and then they got like all these other American guys.
Other guys who are way better. Brandy keeps interfering to help Cody get the advantage. Cody blocks the kill switch and runs Juice into the ring post. Brandy then hits Juice with a spear using her bionic shoulder.
Yeah, does she have a bionic shoulder?
I guess she had broken her shoulder at some point and had a plate put in.
I did not remember that.
I don't know.
This was so confusing.
The referee ejects her because she did it right in front of him.
Good. Remember, in New Japan, referees don't call matches for disqualification. They just don't.
Yeah. Cody hits Crossroads, but Juice kicks out. Juice comes back and hits his own Crossroads. Cody takes an opportunity to whip Juice with his weight belt. The Juice hits a KO punch as a counter to the disaster kick and 2 pulp frictions to get the win. I mean, it was fine, but it was another one that, could have used a few more minutes.
And this was so clearly right from the beginning, like, all right, Cody's doing the job. Like, there's no way any of these guys can win matches on this show, which makes these matches kind of anticlimactic because we know that they're leaving. And they kind of try to leave the door open like, well, if I retain the belt, I'll come back and defend it every so often. No, you won't. No, you're not going to do that.
Next up for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, Kushida defends against Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah.
So Ishimori's in Bullet Club. He was like a top guy in Noah for 15 years. He was like the ace of the Noah Junior division.
That's correct, yes. After Kenta and Marufuji graduated to the heavyweights, he was their ace of the junior division. Then he just kind of disappeared for like a year or two. Apparently he went to Mexico. And then they started hyping up that they were going to have a Bone Soldier. They were going to have because they had previously there had been a character named Captain New Japan who had been a kind of a dumpy, silly guy who was just wore New Japan colors. And then they had seduced him to the dark side. But then they just kicked his ass and threw him out and said their new mascot was going to be the Bone Soldier, who they then revealed was Taiji Ishimori in a stunning wait, that almost a Rick Rude, and that guy's way too cool for this random thing you said.
Kushida has a Back to the Future entrance, as he always seems to at the Tokyo Dome.
I don't know why he's never progressed past that Back to the Future thing. He's still doing that this year.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's become a nostalgia thing at this point.
That is a fair, except now he's dressed like Marty McFly, but he's 42.
But he's actually Doc Brown's age now. Yeah. Ishimori goes for a springboard 450, but Kushida catches him in an armbar. Shades of Shane McMahon.
I can't believe you said Shades of Shane McMahon during this Wrestle Kingdom.
Ishimori gets out and hits La Mystica.
Yeah, he does.
Kushida with a handspring where he ends up on Kushida's shoulders. He goes for a tombstone, but Kushida counters, leads him on the ref, and kicks him in his injured arm. That was really funny.
I love that the ref being like, what the fuck?
Oh, okay. Kushida keeps working the arm, and he applies a Kimura. Ishimori rolls straight into a Death Valley driver.
Yeah.
Kushida hits a small package driver and tries another one, but Ishimori blocks. Kushida hits a big punch, but Ishimori comes back with a jumping knee and hits his bloody cross finisher for the win in 11 minutes. Pretty good. Not as long as you'd think.
Yeah. This was an attempt to build another star in this division other than just Kushida and Hiromu wrestling each other 5,000 times. And I think that they really did succeed with that. So these kind of become the 3 pillars for a little while.
Next up, it's big match time. We've got Okada against Switchblade Jay White.
So, a little thing about Jay White. So, you're going to debut into this company and try to make your name where like Okada, Naito, and Tanahashi and all these guys are already on top. How do you be different? How do you find a style that really stands out? And Jay White's decision is to make himself the ultimate counter wrestler. He doesn't really have the offense except for his one kill shot, the switchblade. But like what he does better than anyone else I've ever seen, except maybe like Bret Hart, is he makes your moves work against you. And he is the only person who's ever had Okada's number. He stymies Okada because every time Okada tries something, he just turns it into something else.
I love the idea of both a counter puncher and the idea of a guy whose special talent is either he can beat all the top guys or he can beat one of the top guys. Just somebody beating somebody else's kryptonite. Something very interesting to me that I feel like has rarely been used in wrestling.
I just think it's such a brilliant thing. Like, anybody can beat Jay White, but, like, Okada can't.
Yeah.
But Okada's the guy.
But Jay White's just prepared for everything.
Yeah. Jay White is what Triple H was pretending to be in the thousands with the cerebral assassin shit.
Big pop when Okada reveals he's gone back to the trunks.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody liked the pants. They need to see the legs.
The red hair and the pants and the sad balloon man. The sad Okada who wasn't quite the same man. Like, everyone was so mad about the pants, which I thought were fine, but literally everyone was furious on forums. So when he pulls out the tights, it gets a genuine ovation.
Crowd was way hotter for this than anything on the show so far.
I'd say, honestly, aside from the main event, this is by far the hottest. Because, like, it's the hottest story coming in. But I think there was a question of, like, how hot Jay was going to be. Oh, the crowd is, like, into this.
Yeah. White gets control by running Okada's arm and back into the ring post and the railing. Okada makes a comeback and he drop kicks White off the top rope. Gato tries to cheap shot Okada, but he gets cut off, and then Okada hits both him and White with a crossbody over the railing.
That was cool. You forget how athletic Okada is.
This big 6'3" dude just flying into the crowd.
Yep.
Okada hits the flying elbow. He goes for the Rainmaker. White blocks it, and he hits a downward spiral and a Uranagi. He goes for the Blade Runner, but Okada blocks it.
Yeah.
Big drop kick from Okada. He goes for another Rainmaker, but White counters with a Snapdragon suplex, then a Kiwi Crusher that gets a close 2 count.
That's the thing. He just can't hit the Rainmaker on Jay White, and he doesn't know how to beat people any other way.
Okada counters the Blade Runner again and hits a Tombstone. Okada misses a drop kick. White goes to the Blade Runner. Okada blocks it again, hits another drop kick.
This is only a 14-minute match. There's a lot going on.
They go into a sequence where they just keep countering each other's finishers until Okada finally hits the Rainmaker. Why not cover?
That's a great question. This is a cocky moment by Okada.
Yeah.
Like, this is a disrespectful moment. Because all through this, he's like, Jay White's not on my level. He'll never be on my level. Like, at this point, there's still, like, some attempt by Jay White to get Okada's respect. And Okada here is snubbing him bad.
So Okada pulls him up and goes for another Rainmaker, but White blocks it. He hits the Blade Runner, and he pins Okada.
He pins him clean in 14 minutes.
Wow.
This makes Jay. Like, nobody beats Okada clean. Nobody.
Yeah, crowd is shocked, but yeah, what a win for Switchblade.
And it feels weird that this match is so relatively short compared to other things, but, like, I actually think that makes this more effective because I think, like, the fans expected a longer match.
No,
so, like,
everybody, I think, thought Okada was going to kick out of the Blade Runner there.
Yeah, that move by itself puts the Blade Runner over in a way that you never have to do anything else. Like, it's over forever now. It beat Okada square one time. Of course, later he'll kick out of it like 5 times in a match, but he only had to do it the one time here.
Next up, for the IC title, Chris Jericho defends against Naito.
I don't know that there's ever been a major match at the Dome that I've cared less about than this one.
This is an interesting clash of styles.
So,
clash of language barriers.
It's even like a class of cultures would almost be a better way to put it, because Naito
hates Americans and American wrestling, right?
Naito has always been extremely upfront about the fact that he thinks American wrestling fucking sucks. He refuses to learn any English whatsoever, does not want to work with American wrestlers, makes an exception occasionally for Omega, but like
Omega's Canadian.
Yeah, but he was always openly critical of like the whole Omegaverse thing that they were doing. And I'm sorry, I know Omegaverse means a much more perverted thing online, and I'm sorry I'm saying that. That's a whole other thing. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And like he was openly critical about it. Like, I don't know what our champion is doing. Like, he's doing these like being the elite things, and I don't understand English. Our fans don't understand English.
Again, that's him. I feel like that's him speaking out on behalf of the fans. We're just like, what the hell is all this? What are they doing? What are these storylines?
Like, the storylines.
Why are they kissing?
Literally, the storylines were like Cody was like attempting to seduce Kenny away from Kota Ibushi by like flirting with him. Like, evil bisexual homewrecker Cody was an awesome storyline, but I bet their fans were really confused about it. And like, Naito was the most outspoken one about AJ and Nakamura leaving too, because he's like, how the fuck are we supposed to make this company better if every time somebody leaves to go to WWE, we're like, good luck, buddy, you finally made it to the big time. Fuck that, we're the big time.
A question they've never really been able to answer.
So, like, that's one of the things that makes the fans fall in love with Naito so much, is that he's the guy who's like, I'm here for Japan, man.
Never
I don't fucking care about America.
Naito jumps Jericho during his entrance and hits him with a pile driver on the ramp.
Oof.
It's quite a way to start the match.
Yeah, it is.
Back in the ring, Naito removes the pad that covers the ring post and hits Jericho with it. Remember that for later.
Yep.
Naito goes for a suicide dive, but Jericho hits him with a kendo stick. Then he hits the springboard missile drop kick, and he DDTs Naito through a table out on the floor.
Again, these tables are those, like, skinny baby tables, and they break unpredictably.
Naito goes back in the ring. Jericho hits the lion salt. Naito fires up and hits a neck breaker. Naito goes for a drop kick, but Jericho catches him in the walls. Naito fights the ropes. Jericho goes for a code breaker, but Naito blocks it and hits a tornado DDT.
Damn.
Jericho gets Naito in the walls again, but Naito gets the kendo stick and fights his way out. Jericho ducks a swing with the stick and hits the code breaker.
Which had been the move that he'd been, like, embarrassing Naito with over and over with, like, at like press conferences and stuff. So that's a big heat moment there.
Jericho gets a chair and hits Naito. Jericho goes for a spinebuster on a pile of chairs, but Naito reverses into a DDT, and then he hits the code breaker.
That was cool.
Naito with a German suplex on a chair, and then he goes for the Destino, but Jericho kicks him in the nuts and hits the code breaker. I should note, you told me they called this match in Spanish?
Yes, they did. So
Jericho speaks Spanish?
Well, he works so long in Mexico, yeah.
God.
So I don't know that he's fluent in Spanish, but he's probably fluent in Mexican Spanish. But here's the thing. Naito doesn't speak English. The referee speaks English, but Naito doesn't want to speak English. And Jericho does not speak Japanese. Maybe he speaks some from his time in Japan, but he speaks like enough Japanese and Spanish that I think Spanish is honestly the best language for them both to speak, because Naito spent years in Mexico.
Usually in this situation, like the referee
ref just
translates,
calls the spots,
right? Like, the referee call, like, they can talk through the referee and the referee kind of guides them, and like, you know, if they're familiar with each other, they know enough to get through it.
Yeah, but normally they would set it up in the back with the referee and they just kind of go over the spots and stuff. But yeah, like the common language they have is somehow Spanish, and I think that's very funny.
Jericho gets the belt. He lines up to hit Naito with it, but Naito runs him into the exposed turnbuckle and hits the Destino, but somehow Jericho kicks out. What the fuck?
I think the Destino is the most kicked out of finish in the history of wrestling, but he has to do it like 5 times every match to win.
Other than all of Jericho's finishers.
I guess that's actually a good point, yeah.
Another Destino from Naito finally gets the win. It was okay. It didn't really click.
Did this need to be 22 minutes?
No. God, no.
Are there better people?
Not while everything else on the show was rushed.
Are there better people Jericho could have worked with? That's actually an interesting question, because I'm not sure who I would have put him with, honestly. Like, you really do kind of have to put him with the Japanese guy this time. Otherwise, you're just continuing off into that, like, America-verse, where, like, it's just a totally separate thing. Maybe it would have been better to go with Okada here, but they have such a hot thing with White and Okada. I don't really know what else you do. They don't have anything. This whole year, they have nothing for Naito. He has nothing to do. He has gone from, like, the tippy-top guy, maybe, to completely secondary to them.
All right. It's already main event time. Kenny Omega defends the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Can Tanahashi save New Japan? Or will Kenny leave with the belt?
So the promos that they do coming into this, they're not openly saying that Omega's leaving, but like the promos are basically Omega turns heel on Tanahashi. And it's like, look, you know who you need for the American expansion. I'm the one bringing in the money from all over the world. I'm taking this belt away from just Japan's influence, from that small little backwater, oh, we have to keep everything pure Japan. Fuck Japan. I'm taking this to America. I'm taking it to Britain. I'm taking it to Mexico. I'm the star. It's gone beyond you now, Tanahashi. This company is beyond you now. You're an old man and you need to quit.
Kenny dominates the first 10 minutes.
As well he should. The whole story here is that Tanahashi is a washed old man.
Yeah. Kenny is just taking him to school. Tanahashi finally hits a drop kick, but Omega shuts his comeback down and runs him into the apron. Then Omega slams him onto a table and hits a moonsault off the guardrail. He's just showing off at this point.
Just killing him. Like, if you had made me bet money that night, I would have said that this match goes like 18 minutes because they've been playing, and like on the tours coming in, they're playing up like how bad Tanahashi's knees are and is he even going to make it to the dome? How's he going to get through the match? Of course, that all turns out to be like 50% kayfabe because by the end of this match, he's doing just fine. But coming in, like, you had genuine concerns that like, he's just going to get wrecked.
Kenny wastes time setting up a table on the floor, which allows Tanahashi to recover. So when Kenny gets back in the ring, Tanahashi catches him with a dragon screw. And that's his chances. Can he just mess up Kenny's knees enough to bring him down to his level and slow him down?
Because you got to remember, Kenny Omega in this year was invincible. He had there were no cracks in the game. There was nothing to assault. He hadn't been beaten since he beat Okada at Dominion. Like, even if you work the leg, Kenny Omega does not have leg problems at this point in his career. Like, you have an almost impossible task here.
And you got to work the legs because you got to slow him down.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to beat him when he's flying around the ring, nailing you in the face with V-triggers?
He's fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. And, like, Tanahashi's so fucking slow at this point, he can't keep up.
Kenny hits 2 Okay, first, Kenny sets up for the Terminator dive, but Tanahashi cuts him off with a drop kick. Kenny hits a Hurricane Rana. Tanahashi slides to the floor, and Omega this time does hit him with the Terminator dive.
Yeah. Which, at this point, it was very heartwarming when he did the Terminator dive this year. And, like, the fans remember to do, like, that.
Scared for him when he does that now.
Yeah. That whole match, I was just like, did you remember we said on this podcast, I said, like, I don't think he's ever going to be Kenny Omega again. Like,
I was fucking wrong. Yeah. Kenny hits 2 Snapdragon suplexes and a V-trigger. He goes for the one-winged angel, but Tanahashi slips out, and Omega awkwardly lands on his knee. And then Tanahashi smashes the knee as we hit 20 minutes gone. Again, Tanahashi knows his one chance is to wreck Omega's lower body.
The one advantage that Tanahashi has is that he spent years like feuding with Okada, so he knows how to slow down a super athlete who's way more physical than him.
Tanahashi locks in the cloverleaf, and then he transitions into a Styles clash.
Yeah.
He goes for the high fly flow, but Omega gets his knees up. Omega goes for the V-trigger, but he misses and hits the corner, and Tanahashi gets him with a dragon screw onto the middle rope. I love the knee offense.
That thing.
Just
like,
relentless.
And I love this version of Tanahashi because his best matches are the ones where he has to get out of his routine and just come up with some new shit. Like, there's never been a wrestler who would come into the dome, go into the deep water, and just make up a whole new version of their offense like he did. That was what made him special.
Tanahashi sets Kenny on a table on the floor. He goes for the high fly flow, but Kenny moves and Tanahashi crashes and burns through the table.
Oh, Tanahashi, why did you do that?
Kenny stupidly throws Tanahashi back in the ring instead of just taking the count out.
Yep.
That surely won't come back to bite him in the ass.
He's too proud. He's got to win this match.
3 power bombs from Omega, but Tanahashi keeps kicking out. Tanahashi scores with a sling blade, and they're both down as we hit 30 minutes gone by. What a match.
And, like, Tanahashi's known for these long matches, as is Omega, but I just don't... I remembered as the match kept going being like, what the fuck? I don't know what's going to happen. Because we knew that Omega was going to be part of AEW. And we knew that the Bucks and Cody were for sure leaving. But there was a part of my heart that was like, Omega's not really going to leave, though. Like, he couldn't actually leave. Like, he might still work here. He might win this match.
Kenny hits a sling blade to turn the tide. He hits a high fly flow, but Tanahashi kicks out at 1.
Omega doing this cocky shit, man. You got to knock it off.
All you did was anger him with that. Kenny hits 2 V-triggers. He goes for the one-winged angel, but Tanahashi counters with a reverse Rana. Holy crap.
I didn't think he could get up for that, honestly.
And a dragon suplex, but he only gets 2. He hits a crossbody and then the high fly flow. Kenny kicks out. Tanahashi goes to the top again, but Omega cuts him off and dragon suplexes him off the top rope. Thankfully, Tanahashi flipped over and landed on his stomach.
But yeah, fuck. Yeah, what a spot.
Terrifying. Then a V-trigger from Omega. He goes for the one-winged angel, but Tanahashi counters and hits a sling blade. And then the high fly flow gets the win to end an epic battle. What a great match.
Like, this was a stunner. Like, Tanahashi winning... The crowd goes insane when Tanahashi wins this match, which is wild considering you would have to imagine they thought he was gonna. Like, though I wonder how much of the Japanese audience really knew about, like, AEW at this point. They had done, like, the video, but, like, the news might not have gotten around to everybody yet. So, if you didn't know Omega's leaving, this is a gigantic upset and an incredible match.
Yeah. I mean, how would you compare this to the previous couple Tokyo Dome main events?
It's, okay, well, it's trying to follow some of literally the greatest matches of all time. Yeah. Didn't Meltzer give this like 5.5 stars?
It was, yeah, he went beyond 5 for this, which I think was unnecessary.
I think this was better than Okada Naito, but it's not even remotely as good as the Okada-Tanahashi matches or
Okada-Omega.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
And neither either of us neither of us thought that was like a paradigm-breakingly great match.
No. But like, it was a completely satisfying main event, but it ends the shows with a lot of questions. Okay, Tanahashi's back on top. Okada lost. There's a lot of uncertainty in this company as to where are we going now? We just lost like half the over guys in the company. Is everything going to be okay? And the answer to that question is, oh yeah, it's going to be fine.
All right. Thoughts on this one overall?
This is not my favorite show. I haven't really covered this yet. There's a lot of bitterness within like the New Japan community about this show and about the Elite in particular. The company definitely had an axe to grind with Omega in particular. I don't think they particularly cared that Cody and the Bucks were leaving. They were Ring of Honor guys primarily anyway, but Omega leaving this quickly after they had put so much into making him, literally, they chose them making the decision for Omega over Naito is one of the most important decisions in New Japan history. They prioritized their American expansion over the guy who was unquestionably more over with their current audience in Naito. And they must have felt so betrayed a year later when Omega leaves because they never put that level of confidence in a foreign wrestler before, and then they got exactly what they were afraid of. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of bitterness associated with this show, and I don't think anybody remembers it. There's no true classics on it. But it's still a great show, and a great way to look back and remember how great this company was at the time.
Yeah. We didn't have any Twitter questions this time. Shame
Cowards.
on all of you.
How dare you? I wish we had like a separate podcast just to talk about modern wrestling, because I would love to do just an hour on Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. I don't know that there's an audience for that, and we're not going to do it because I'm not going to put Steve through that. But man, there's so much more to talk about. I only get one day a year.
All right. We're going to switch things up a little bit this week. Instead of doing Stump Steve, since it's a New Japan show, we're going to try to stump Kyush.
Oh, I'm going to embarrass myself. But yeah, let's do it.
On this night, Hiroshi Tanahashi beat Kenny Omega to win the IWGP Heavyweight title for an unprecedented 8th time. For all the points, I'm going to need you to tell me, what wrestlers did he defeat to win his previous 7 titles?
Ooh!
I'll give you the hint. It was a different one each time.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Okada.
Yeah.
Okada's on the list, that's for sure. Muto was on there.
Yep, beat Muto, January 4th, 2011. No. Muto, January 4th, 2009.
He was supposed to beat Lesnar, but Lesnar refused to do the job.
Do you remember who he did beat?
Oh, who the fuck was it? I'm going to say Nakamura. That's not Nakamura, but he did at one point beat Nakamura.
He did not.
Oh, he never beat him for the belt. Interesting. He beat AJ Styles because that pissed off Okada so bad when he did it.
Yep, that was October 2013.
He beat Kojima.
Yep.
At a Wrestle Kingdom.
That was, Wrestle Kingdom 2011.
How many more are there?
3.
Did he beat Naito one time?
Nope. One is a Gaijin.
Okay.
One is somebody I would have watched in WCW growing up as a kid.
Okay.
And the other, it was June 2009.
Okay. Nakanishi is the WCW one.
No. But Nakanishi is one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember. Nakanishi in WCW?
Yeah, he was Kurosawa during the WCW tournament.
Oh, that's Kurosawa? Kurosawa was my dude.
Yeah. Was it Nagata?
Yep.
Okay.
We're down to the last one. Who was the Gaijin he beat in the finals of a tournament after Lesnar vacated the title?
Giant Bernard.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah!
Got them all.
All
right, good stuff.
I'm proud of myself. But we can't get out of here without also doing a Stump Steve, which I told Steve we weren't going to do, and we're going to do it anyway.
Me.
All right. I'm going to make this one easy on you, okay? I want you to tell me who you think the youngest and oldest people on this show are.
Oh, God. Okay. Let me look at the card. The youngest, are we including the pre-show?
No, not including the pre-show or managers, just people who compete.
Youngest? Ospreay?
Ospreay is correct. Born 93. Jay White, born 92, was second.
Wow, close.
They are 27 and 26 here.
Oldest? Jericho?
Jericho is the second oldest on this show, born 1970.
God, there's somebody born in the 60s on this show?
And I'll give you a hint. He just wrestled this past weekend for New Japan.
Is it Shingo?
It is not.
No, I don't know. Who is it that's that old?
Tomohiro Ishii, who is 50 as of today.
Holy crap.
I'm sorry, no, he's 52. 1968 he was born. That match he just had with Takeshita, 52 years old.
Wait, Ishii?
No. Damn it, he's 75.
No, yeah, look at Ishii. He's only 49.
That's right. My bad.
So
it actually was Jericho who was the oldest. Yeah,
I did get it. Okay.
Damn it. I wrote down the wrong thing. Yeah.
Ishii looks really good if he's in his 50s. Looks good for his 40s.
Honestly, he's looked exactly the same since he was 19.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
it's like an Arn Anderson is just like permanently 40 years old.
He's the opposite of Ibushi, who's permanently 18. Ishii is permanently 40.
All right. Always a pleasure to do Wrestle Kingdom. And next year, next time we do one of these, we're going to hit the very peak, like the 2-night spectacular that unfortunately was the last time they had a proper show for a couple of years because of COVID.
Yeah, arguably the biggest show in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, it's a 2-night extravaganza. It is a belt unification. They finally crown a new top star. It's everything you could possibly imagine and cram into the best 2-night wrestling event in the history of the sport. And then, well, we won't worry about that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, also, Jushin Liger's retirement match. There's only just that on there, too.
Yep, forgot about that.
Yeah.
But next time, we have something very different. NWO sold out 1997. I've been wanting to do this for years, and we've just never gotten around to it.
We pitched so many things, and normally we never get to this because it's a February show, right? And like,
no, it's January. It's just I think we're always doing Rumbles. It's like we have to do Wrestle Kingdom in January, and then we usually do some Rumbles. But this time we're slipping in a sold out because we're kind of running out of Royal Rumbles that would be interesting to do.
We're also making special space for this because I've never seen it, but I know of the fact that it's one of the great atrocities of all time.
I think it's such an interesting idea. Executed so terribly.
We're going to talk about so much stuff on this, not the least of which being, how could they have made a split roster work? Was that a real option? And did this tank it? It probably did.
It feels like they tried this several times, and every time they tried to do it, it was a disaster.
But that's not to say it couldn't have worked. No. I just think that their direction they took it was wrong.
The show has a cool vibe. It was my favorite arena to play in WCW World Tour.
The choice to be like, yeah, garbage trucks, and also
Iowa.
Let's find some ugly women.
Chicks. Eric Bischoff making out with the biker chick is like a really good, a good example of somebody not booking for themselves, right?
If you want,
yeah, I think it's credit that didn't book himself to make out with a supermodel there.
But it almost makes it more because you literally just watch Eric Bischoff make out with this woman for 4 minutes.
The Miss NWO pageant. It's a bunch of biker chicks.
Ugh.
Again, you really get the difference between what Hall and Nash think the NWO is versus what Bischoff thinks the NWO is.
Yeah, Bischoff thinks that this is a whole biker aesthetic that he likes.
And them riding in, if they had all ridden in on Harleys with the Hells Angels, that could have been cool. It would have sucked for them because it was freezing in Iowa. But
instead they rode in on garbage trucks. That's not better.
On the side of a dump truck, couldn't have been a lot of fun either.
And Hall and Nash's aesthetic for this is just we're cool. Like everything's like cool and chill and awesome, and like that's the way to go. But
so yeah, we'll have all that and more next time on the Lawcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next time.